My name is Mike LeBourdais. I'm chief of the Whistler Pines Clinton Indian Band. And what my role is everything that the federal, provincial government is responsible for, and as well as municipalities. I mean, we're responsible for health, social welfare, housing, clean water, safe water, infrastructure, all of it. So we do everything that the federal government does, we do everything the provincial government does, and we do everything the municipalities do. But we just do it in a band office setting. And so it's a lot of responsibility, but it's quite rewarding when it works. Well, there's lots. So there's lots of economic development success. We have a lot of partnerships locally. Like my neighboring bands have partnerships with a mine, and so you get 200-300 folks working there, and it makes a great deal of impact back on the reserve. They're able to look after themselves financially, look after their homes, that kind of thing. We have some more bands that have agreements with camps and catering, and so those again, that's 200-300 jobs, and they're bringing that income back onto the reserve, which would otherwise be vacant. And so when you bring that back on a reserve, you create that little bit of an economy. So if you have a gas station or a restaurant or a craft store, clothing store, something like that, it creates the economy around before it leaks out into the larger regional economy. And so when you have those agreements, it benefits everybody. It benefits the feds, benefits the province, and certainly benefits the local Indian bands. Well, I'm the chair of the Tulo Center of Indigenous Economics, and so Tulo means it's a Chinook word for to prosper, I mean to earn or to get better and bigger. And so what it means for us is as Indigenous economics, because it is a little different than just normal economics. If Indigenous economics wasn't different, you could take any economist, put them on an Indian reserve, and watch them flourish and prosper. That doesn't happen. Why? Because it's fundamentally different on reserve when it comes to the Indian Act, when it comes to Indigenous laws, when it comes to resource development. And so you have to take all those things into consideration when you're developing a plan for a community. So like you take Osuyas, for instance, you put him in the middle of a desert and you get Chief Clarence Louis there, and he prospers. You give him lemons, he makes lemonade. West Bank, same thing. Hillside. It's beautiful there. And so that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to give the people the tools so that they can prosper in any environment. Whether, and that comes with economic development and fiscal development. That means you want those federal jurisdictions to tax the trees, tax the water, tax the oil, all those kinds of things, so that you can set up the corporations that create the jobs that bring wealth into your community. It's a long way to go, but we're prepared. So you got those two things. Like you have the Tulo Center of Indigenous Economics, graduating people who understand the First Nations Infrastructure Institute and what it does. And so that will provide, water, sewer, power to the reserves. And so that will attract investment. Right now you can't get retail shops, restaurants, any of that stuff without water, sewer, power. You need sidewalks, you need street lights, all those kinds of things. You need safe drinking water. And so this will provide all of that stuff. And with the people that we come from the Tulo Center, we'll know how to access that, to write the proposals, to get that funds to flow to the reserves. And once you set that land base, that landscape, the attractions will come, the stores will come, the Nordstroms, the JCPenney's, the Subways, and all that kind of thing. And so we're getting there, right? It's been a long 150 years, but now we've kind of turned that corner. Well, this is what's wrong. The Indian Act is wrong. The Indian Act has kept us out of the economy for 150 years. How do you change it to embrace the economy like Canada does? And so we train those people to make those changes at the council level. So when the communities are ready, the money's there, the resources are there to make it happen. Oh, they were extremely important to my community. The entrepreneurs that we have, we want them to access the funds. They own homes on reserve, but they're not worth anything. But the Aboriginal capital corporations understand how to lend money on the reserves and how to do that. And so that's so important for First Nations, because you can't get a Royal Bank or a Bank of Montreal to do that. And so you need the Aboriginal capital corporations who recognize the constraints of Aboriginal entrepreneurs on reserve. And so they go that extra mile for us, the AFIs and Aboriginal capital corporations. And so it becomes very, very important. And the returns are always good too. As I used to be a banker, a commercial banker with one of the Aboriginal capital corporations. And it's very rare that you would get a loan dilapidate. And so they're very happy to get a loan, and they're very happy to pay it off because they want another loan. They want to grow their business, employ more people, and operate just like every other Canadian. Well, you cannot have social programs without prosperity. Because if you're just making... The example I give my youth is very, very simple. I said I could create jobs by buying 10 shovels, giving 10 men $10 an hour to dig a hole. Give another 10 men 10 shovels to fill it back in. Now that would create a bit of an economy, but what happens when the shovels wear out? If you can't replace the shovels, you no longer have a business. If you wear out your equipment, if you exhaust your resources, you no longer have a business. You're no longer profitable. And so you have to find a way to be profitable. And so when you are profitable, you can have the social programs, the cultural programs, the language programs, the arts programs, all those things that make us uniquely Shuswap or make us Chilcotin or Cree or Sioux. The very different art forms, different languages. And so all that comes because we at one time had a profit through trade with each other. The Indian Act stopped that. And so what we need is to enable that economic development to happen, that fiscal development to happen, so that we can enjoy the profits and enjoy our culture the way it was, the way it's supposed to be, and do that all over again.